So where are we, Geshe?
We just finished the 8 verses.
Okay.
So we'll start the other part.
Yep. Excellent, Tom.
By directing to the field of Buddha, this mandala resplendent with a base of flower, saffron water, and incense, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, sun and moon, may all sentient beings be led to this field. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niya Tayami. To the Buddha, the Dharma, the highest assembly, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. By thus practicing giving, listening to teachings, and so forth, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all transmigrators. To the Buddha, the Dharma, the highest assembly, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. By thus practicing giving, listening to teachings, and so forth, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all transmigrators. To the Buddha, the Dharma, the highest assembly, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. By thus practicing giving, listening to teachings, and so forth, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all transmigrators.
Okay. Yeah, Sineta. Oda the 3 that's how my Tamani Gundele Shirwa. Lojun Sekema Shirwata Kasa Sanime Twinchik Chinsare Inayeta Tatri Sholoka Tamash Sum she's rather in a Kanjata Emma Sarsavati. This cabin, 2 stories in summer.
Okay, so good afternoon to everyone. So we've completed 1 session on the 8 verses, and there are still 3 or 4 verses remaining to cover. And however, I want to just do a little bit further explanation on the verses that we've already covered. However, I expect to cover all the verses to have completed by this afternoon.
Oh, to say that the Lojon Sige Matitan and Junipe Carsorta. Oh, Chitan Chanchu is Sam Kinyamle, Chanchu Seminyamle, Korchi, Imbala, Ani Namjune Coranzo Nirela, Tovachi Chanchu Semki Docho, Anepe Chanchu Sem like Gig Chicken Gia, Lotten the game to Gola, Tanzula Pa, Misekin Yamle Chetas, Chireto, Hot in the Chiresha.
Okay, so in general, these 8 verses are associated with the practice of the spirit of enlightenment, bodhicitta. But in particular, it is a specifically kind of opposes or brings the arising of the mind that on a day-to-day basis, that is kind of the opposite or an interference to the generation of the spirit of enlightenment, bodhicitta.
What to say that the net Tambude, Sian and Tambude, and that is Semsian Tamsila. Asian Role Lab to ensure to be somebody that Shepherd Simba show Sidwa. Or that day, that Semsian. Chanju Simki that Aram Yamlet or Chanjus and a Semchen Tamjela and a Shepherd Singore has said to which was simply Tamjela.
Okay.
Semche Tamje Shepherd Simbala Tene, and then Aranzolachi. And that said this Senada, Yan and Mana, Kovanala Senada. Data Kovena la Chipta Kanje Pusum Sopa Diki Yonde de Tama Semjela Tenechungura. semjela tene yungo yore se chikche te chigre ta te kande stress na ta mo deshe khasang jeba to sa ta mo bu sho mo wa che kanje kanda te de ta kanje khobe na la manzo tengi dewa da mena ya kanje ta dewa chi yorwa dewa ta dewa nekap ki dewa tu yore dewa posum soba nekap ki ta chi dewa lo soba tu sa ane le sangbuji la tene le kewe le saba la tene chungore le kewe le dikiti semche la tene le sagyo wa sunza ane semche la tene chungore te sunza se ditan kowe nekap su ane anzo chi posum soba karayo na dikiti sama semche la tene chungore te chi chere te dala ta kowe le tone tarba samgi dewa tarbe dewa teya de ane semjela tene chungare se rojira tadi khasa te dai khasa shuzare jidane tanda tarbe dewa se de lamlaba sumla tene chungora lamlaba sum yawati ta surum re deore surum yela barta surum sabala ne shenla no pa surum de shenla tene sungwa chaworo dordo oke chido ta ya semje shenla tene sungwa chido wala ya te ane semjela tene chungwa tadene paachina sanje kompangki dewa sete ta tele kyang semchen la tene chungoya tapena sanje kompangki nyamne chanchuke semta nyingche seta wata teke te tsama parchin chuke ta parchin chuke na mangchewa chundi parchin matu chike mangchewa ane semchen la tene kewe wara tesu ta ane semchen de yishi ni nubu le labe
Okay, so that this first verse, with the determination to accomplish the highest welfare for all sentient beings who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. So that this mind that cherishes all sentient beings is principally a practice of cultivating the spirit of enlightenment, bodhicitta. However, if we think, as we just to recover what we explained last time, we think of this life and life within cyclic existence. Whatever happiness or excellence arises, it arises in dependence on sentient beings. If we consider this life and cyclic existence, while there is no enduring happiness, there is temporary happinesses. And those temporary happinesses are accumulated by, those temporary happinesses arise by the accumulation of virtuous or positive karmic actions. And those positive karmic actions arise in dependence on, therefore, on dependence on sentient beings. Thus, whatever excellence or fortune, that temporary excellence or fortune of this life or within cyclic existence arises in dependence on sentient beings. And then secondly, if we consider liberation from cyclic existence, the bliss of liberation. Again, as we covered last time, this is achieved in dependence on sentient beings. That to attain liberation, we need to cultivate the three higher trainings. The root of the three higher trainings is ethics. And ethics is, in brief, is practiced by restraint of harm to others. And then further than that, the bliss of Buddhahood, that even more this depends on sentient beings, because all the practices, whether compassion or the spirit of enlightenment of bodhicitta itself, most of the six perfections other than joyous effort, all of these are generated in dependence on sentient beings. And thus we see that they are surpass even a wish-granting jewel and cultivate this mind that holds them dearly.
kiwa chimala ma pentoya ki miseke yo marwa.
Loss.
Setan semchen la tene nganzo le kiwele sidila kiwele mabu sa ture heta kiwa chimala msa tarbata sanje kumpa toyala suba tiki tiki mabu chik tila tene tup tuku tuwa hodi kichikita. Tesuka ishi bule labare se.
A wishful fulfilling jewel would only bring about wealth and resources in this life. It is not able to benefit future lives. Whereas in dependence on sentient beings, we can accomplish many virtuous, positive actions that bring about benefit in all future lives, benefits, kind of many future lives and liberation and Buddhahood. So many things are accomplished on the basis of sentient beings.
Tuse tati tuse tene te kala ta sholoka nyepati kanto suda trobe se danyi kune menta shela saba taba e chozo shela saba taba chozo cheba semba shosi dwa ota te tere tachi mensa sunkare taka je mensa sune ngaje che yo mare sune drwa ngaje che ma mensa sune ngaje che te ata mixe ki tere tachi maranzo tanda manju namje chichona la chik mida chik tewa chik mi mangbo chik susu mi shenpa ta chik tute chunga la soba te mi mangbo tuk tinte chidu wala ta susu che nga ye dhawa chik yoba chine pe chik nga kole chik towa dhawa chik samba dhawa ta ya nga nye chikwa yin samsang dhawa ta wata tinte la soba ta nga ye pacho de la makubo yo suna ta nyora mangbo yunga nyora yunga ten kesa rwa, nyora yunga rwa ta chi shen maka wa chiya rwa ta pa tele pa shane, tele do de pa kushab ta chik susu ta chik mensa sung chine pa shen la kuba chikita na an tsama nyora miwa yunga chirwa wata de sung ko te ta de tere ta de mato chikita ya chik nga shibu chik kyoba yi sabne pe chik susu ma chik nya pabne ma mensa suna nga shivu chi kyoba yin sama tende che ten piksa sungu ya mararwa kange nga ye che marungwa boba che kuwa hotu sungu ra boba hota tere takasan teshe kyaba kyabse ta miksa konsa te mamotuwa magawa cherwa hotus.
Okay, then the second verse, whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest or the most insignificant among all, and respectfully hold others as being supreme from the depths of my heart. So the essence of this verse is to be humble and to not give rise to pride. So in the specific thing from this verse is that in general, when we meet other people in day-to-day basis, if we have a proud mind and think I am better than them, I'm kind of above them, or I'm at least as good as them, then often we lack respect for others, and that lack of respect brings about problems and dislike towards others. Whereas if we have a respect towards others and are humble as regards ourselves, then this itself prevents problems arising. But we talked about this a lot last time, so just in brief, but this humble attitude is not a lack of self-esteem. We should differentiate between pride and self-confidence.
장중에 샘다 니제도 그 도초래 되어와. 도초래 되어와. 됐다 도다 스타지다.
So in general, the mind of pride is a much stronger basis in an egotistical attitude towards oneself, and thus it opposes compassion and the spirit of enlightenment, bodhicitta.
어두세 테네 어디에 다 졸음 건드란 줄로 도지 어다 두세 테네 다 수바데 졸음 건드란 줄로 도지 녀무게 마다 다시 모른 채베나 센터 돈에 또 버쇼세 다 쇼로가 수바데기 다 비슷한 거 다 남준에 소소 니레기 졸람 지 졸람 카레나다 다 류마 예수게 줘봐야나다 다가나시게 다저 도자 냐도 줘봐 여러 다 같이 다네 실로라 도게나다 소소도 스파이나라 그래서 니엔테게 나다야 지도 참참다 도게나다 다 카레다 마타 대대나다 도자 대감 소소이 셈라다 슈다 당고래 세아도 저와 저런 분들은 또 저는 대 슈다 마담바이나 야 요모되게 된 건도 교요네 공동아 이제 타도로서 봤다 또 방문도 교요네 네 대왕기다 아랑마게 버체 시행마게 랑기 토 랑기 예 콜라서 봐 지금 랑기 되게 여기 와도 사마 답시 당신에 왔다 답시 당신 답 마디바 수치네 간제다 네 대소그래 해서가 왔대서
Okay, so that then the third verse, in all actions I will learn to search into my own mind, and as soon as an afflictive emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. So that, so this is advice for our activities day by day, that whatever we're doing, whether we are out and about, whether we're resting or going for a walk, that in all these activities, one checks what is arising in one's own mind. Otherwise, if we do not check and afflictive emotion manifests in our minds, such as jealousy and so forth, then that causes both unhappiness for oneself and unhappiness for others. It will cause unhappiness and disturbance within kind of one's associates in the household.
계획와 당번을 하고서나 한테 원고도 치려와 도탑도 치니 도탑 제시하기는 때다 요때는 마키에게 팬통으로 와 때마도 지기 하고 남의 지단에 원고 맞게 버제 녀모 계획에 도나 맞게 셔야 되고 되게 따와도 때 부수 지나네 지마배 그네 코로나 이제 다도다 되게 디페지 갈래 가마토게 했는데 수심보 용도로 와 어떻게 봐 도시다 센터 돈에 더 버셔 시도다 센터 도단될 때 먼저 롱 라지 롱고도 거면서 봤다 된 소리 어떻지?
Yes. Okay, so that by checking on our mind, we can, and if we see that afflictive emotion is arising, then we can oppose it and overcome it. Whereas if we are inattentive and just and indifferent to what arises in our minds, have no interest in what is arising in our minds, then this will allow afflictive emotions such as anger, pride, and so forth to continue to arise. And because it becomes very strong, then it's very difficult to stop its arisal. And in terms of the firmly face and avert it, the forceful methods, this is, one can use the focus on the breath or the 9-round breathing.
달롱고도 공예나 다지 야나 지단 롱코라는 미바타니 가상가서 계제 중소 롱코라 롱고 나고나 롱교와 집고 장가제기 되나 샘기 장가제기 되나 되기 싫다 벤도 그래와 샘 그냥 샘기 장가제기 되나 다 롱지 중순이도 숨면서 반노 오단도 오디게 돼 어때가 다가란 게 벤도고 요소를 다 다네 신기 그냥 가타야 되는 연구를 담이라 연구를 봐 어떠세
Okay, so that if we become familiar with afflictive emotion through being unconcerned to what is arising in our mind, then through that strong familiarity, it is very difficult to cease its arisal, and we can see that happening. Whereas if we identify it when it just begins, that it's kind of merely starting to arise in the mind, then we're able to overcome it either by the 9-round breathing or just the focus on breath, even counting the in and out breath, one breath, 2 breaths. This is itself is very beneficial. Other method is to recite mantras. So there are various methods that one can use.
Me shamba sama kondo la dengan ruta chi shela no ba chepe no ba che kyase yase no ba che dengan ta tire la so ba ranshin ge besim chen tsikro tere amena ota ranshin ge besim chen ne dipa ma bo che dengan tire samdan tik ti chere ta di ayamena ane temata pe dungal ge na besim chen wa dungal ge na besim chen pe chi 다 사교 통지 말에 교고를 소바레지 네판다고 냠타도 강에 슈체데라 소바레 다들 가리네고 근데 강에 태대는 거로 왔다 되네서 왔다 된데 동수나다 렌세 때들 잡아나시 다도 렌세 때들 신경 버게 외치지 쇼스 다데디 갈수 거라서나 때 마도 지게 담다 랑주 남주 알아서 된데 지 Chilameva Chinepe Namjo Sosuchi Gao Chidwat Yenda Chidwa Mipe Kai Kune Meba Chik Miss Sangport of Tinechina Tiki Givelo Ta Kialaya Misek Tatiki Shuki Tealdo Tinecha Kami Artachin Shuki Teatre you cigarette Matuchi Nega Korankichi Chik Kondo Soba Kumia Seatota 제 시엔라타 심바타야라 소퍼레 타나 신기 와다지 로첼라 소버텐데 코디 켄테 마르와 게임테 마르와 오타타 테스자 탄다 탄다 라신예 베심진 디파 베 바모바 체테게 데 탄데다 타나 신기 아니 두알 마보 체테게 딘데 요스나 트린체 테데 테바 미베 메지라 코남주네 지 노르롱초라 시부지 가보지는 코테르치냐 바이나타 시부지 가보지기라
로스
어때나시아 오다 되게 단다 되게 될라로 강에 되게 강에 되게 된들라 로 쳐봐야나 코 아니 개별로 시부지 앞에도 얼마 되게 로스 개별로 패도 원래 다나 신게 두두 가실라 동래자 시바 동래자 시도치 가보죠 두들로 동래자 봐이나 랑기 샘디 약기 쉬위 조셔버와 기회줄라 어떤 다른 진대대 때문에신다 제발 진고를 했어야 도지래요.
Okay. And so then the fourth verse, I would cherish beings of bad nature and those oppressed by strong negativities and sufferings as if I'd found a precious treasure very difficult to find. So that what is meant by of bad nature means those who engage in harmful actions, who get angry with everyone, who harm others again and again. That one could say in general create many negative actions. And then those oppressed by strong negativities and sufferings being those who lack resources, who may be sick, who lack food and clothing and so forth. And in seeing these beings, one feels as if they are a precious treasure. And so what this means is that generally in terms of those who surround us, that we meet from day to day, if they are very good and kind of kind-hearted people, then there is they don't provide the conditions that really make us generate very strong kind of compassion and concern for others. Whereas when we see people of kind of in great difficulty or who are by nature difficult, then these are conditions that cause us to generate patience, to make generosity, to help people. And so that if we think of the image of the precious treasure, if there was someone who was really liked wealth and material resources, if they were to find a precious treasure, they would be extremely happy. And so in that same way, that seeing those who are either experiencing many sufferings or themselves of difficult character or creating negativities, that seeing those people who are in those difficulties, that can make us really strongly increase our virtuous mind, our positive mind states, that even in terms of the practice of giving and taking, while it may be difficult to do that, if we're able to do that in relationship to these people, it really, again, makes us generate a virtuous, positive mind much more strongly. So in that way, they are a precious treasure.
Dala shengi tatoki shikula so merebe kyonkarangi lemba de gega shenle beba sho sidwa.
Yes.
Dala shengi tatoki shikula so merebe. Ti tsikti takarawa di oma derwa.
Yes, taramare.
Dala shengi tatoki shikula so merebe kyonkarangi lemba de gega shenle beba sho sidwa. Tadi ta mi shenpa jingi rangla be chik takana shengi ya chi be chi lega mache pala che to se to ta tu chikuma ma ku pala ku sha se to ta ta chi tende che tende mangpo yung ro
Yes.
Ota tende che ba ina ta ne kyongkarang gale ne kega shen la pure show se ti ta ti si de la ta de la tele yan chiba mangpo yung ro
Yes.
ta tende na su leka duwa mache ba chi la che sha la du mi chi ba chi che sha la du la oda te pa mala ba che ta ne su ki kyo mo len chi ba so da chi wa
Yes.
su kyo mo len chi ba chi wa ta de la te tanda khar se go se na ta de tanda khar se go ta de te ma re sta te khar se na khande re se na ba jo shen ge rang la pe chi lega tuja mache bole chesho chi sa nye ko la subata tinde cheso na bage semchen khorala ne kyongkan do len se na ta nyingji kene pa tela nule mache se ato chirwa
Yes.
tere ina ye ko di lega tuja lega tela ko chawa tela ko ane su pa donglen che ko tinde yugurwa te se
The Simjin was some kind of ninja down Nilan Machewa de Labjare Lega Doja di Che Mache, so
de la ko di gawe chawar
Yes.
ta nam gyuni de chi ta ne ko nga zu ta o ma khare o ma paten da ta pe sigre be paten da ta bare o ma shikya bare china la de chawa da cheba bo yin le khabar che wore sirwa 내가 semchen shen la nyingji de kadu na thore yo mares ka shen kansa tela kansa de ki choba nyemba tela ane pe karsorda goya ga tapsi che gore se to chwa
Yes. Okay. So then we come to the verse 5th verse, when others out of jealousy treat me badly with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. So that that when others slander, for example, saying that you did something that you didn't do, or that you took something that, stole something that you had not taken. So those are examples of others treating one badly. And so with this verse, a lot of questions can arise about it. So that if someone says that one did something harmful that one did not do, and you don't respond to that, then it maybe seem like that you are admitting that you were, you did that, you made that mistake, that you did that action. But so we need to understand the meaning of the verse, that it is when someone says that one has, for example, taken something that one didn't take, or did something that one had not done, then as regards the person, one should keep a mind of compassion and not retaliate towards them. But in terms of their actions, if their actions are harmful, one should still try to intervene to stop that action. So there's, in general, as regards this, either from one of the texts of Chandrakirti, the glorious Chandrakirti, or from the 400 verses, the advice is one has to differentiate between the kind of the agent, the person, and the action. So that in terms of the agent or the person, one always maintains a mind of compassion. But in terms of the actions that they do, if they are doing harmful actions, then one should engage in means to cease that harmful action.
rangi pacho mitele shibuji pentone takho ngala kangeji tewaina takho ta rochewe jogre samsanta bochitinde tede michiki rangla noba chebaina sigorwa wa kana takpe ro shindu mirena shi tela shinyi tambarta wa shose to chirwa shinyi tambarta ta namgyo manzo dusrwa so mo maishege michiki kolapa nobata rangla nobata wa chebaina ताको ची नॉर्ने छेबा इंजरे समसान तो स्टेंगर होरवा ताको लोगों आंगो शिमे कोंगे ने खर्चे में या खर मिंगा मी खंडे में हाको मारे को कोना के ची नॉर्ने ची को तो ची गालनो बच्चे इंजरे समसान तो ची मातो ची शिरा थोना ची मारवा ताको शेबा तो होता तेरे ते चना ताको होता दे त्या पे तेरे रंग पे हाले तो ची मारवा ता सोसो पा शिबुज रोचे ता सोसो ला कांगे ठेसना खोगा रोचे रे समसान तो ची मी तेरे ची के सोसो ला पा नोबा चेबाइना तादे को हन थया तो चरवा हन थया तो चरा होता तेरे चेसना ता तेरे मी ची नोबा चेबाइना ता तेरे ता ताते सोबाकोम को रे सेट वचिरवा ताते तातेला सोबाकोमे ते चिताने ता काले खाशु छगोरवा काले खाशु छगोर तास तामसा मजो तंदा तामसा चिकपा लेला वयो मारवा वचदा ता तेला पा सोबाकोम थोबायना तापे सुसु सगेन्यामले ते काचे ता यार के जगे ता वचिरवा samlo mambo tamenda mambo sebe ko nyamne tachi mambo kyunbo kombe ta do chire ta te chirwa oda te ris oda ta soba ta de ne khoya china e lama chi to sugu do te joje shuge be khaptola joje gyala shuge be khaptola ane bi joje theli yone be michi be 가되네 지어질 컨트롤한테 이게 좀 시설화. 알고 다들 알에 뜻대로 좀 소리.
Okay, so then the next verse, when one whom I benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. So that this is someone that oneself has benefited themselves. This is someone that oneself has benefited, that when they so that when oneself goes through difficulty, you would think that they would help one. If to think of an ordinary example, if someone we don't know at all harms oneself, then we kind of not as disturbed by this, because we think they might have made a mistake because they don't really know me. They're not close to me. They don't know me. There's no reason for them to do that and not be disturbed by that. But when we have someone who's very close, who's that way, we have helped a lot, or helped them when they have gone through difficulty, and when they respond by harming us, then kind of we are shocked or disturbed by that. And so in this case, what the verse is telling us is that we must cultivate patience and kind of the mind of forbearance. But this is really one of the most difficult things to do, that it's not easy to do and not something that we can quickly do. But if we were able to be patient in those circumstances, it would be a sign that we had strongly developed and become very familiar with the practice of patience. And there's a story associated with a teacher that of someone who was lost. Okay, so then in general, when we help others, that we may have a thought that they will return and kind of return that assistance or kindness in the future. But if we look at that motivation is not completely pure, because there is a hope of a return or a reward in the future, like in the same way that one would do if one was doing business. And this can also arise when we make generosity and so on. We may think, oh, if I make generosity, then in a future life, I myself will have kind of great fortunes and excellences. And so we're expecting a reward in return. And so if we consider this from the spirit of enlightenment of bodhicitta, this is a mistaken motivational mind. And we find in the mind training advices when it says do not transform food into poisonous food. And so so if we look at someone who helped or benefited others with a pure motivation, with a motivation that was free of any thought of reward, then having helped that person, if that person didn't was not helpful or did not return that kindness in any way, that person would have no worries because their mind was pure in the initial help that was given. Whereas we can see if we help someone else and then expect that they will help us in return, and if they don't, then that acts as a cause for anger to arise. Yes. In terms of for oneself, when we help someone else, and then it is good for one's mind not to be expecting a result of kind of a return of that help. And when someone else helps us, then it is good for us to think too that in the future one will repay that kindness. Yes. Yes. So that if, in general, in ordinary life, if someone who is helped by others and then does not kind of repay that kindness or respond in kind, is considered kind of very poorly as someone of bad action. Okay, so then the next verse, this links back to the first verse. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness directly and indirectly, and secretly take upon myself all the harms and sufferings of my mothers. So this thought, if one is able to directly kind of take or relieve others of suffering, that is good, but otherwise one does it through one's thought or one's motivation. And so this links to the practice of giving and taking, where one thinks of taking on the suffering of others, and one thinks of giving others one's virtue and happiness in the form of a white light that one breathes out. And then the third line, secretly take on myself. So this is a practice that one does kind of quietly or privately. One doesn't publicize it, saying this is the thing that I do, or try and gain reputation or make out you're a great practitioner because you do this, because that can generally cause obstacles. It can cause obstacles to one's own practice, and that if you are trying to present it to people and so that you get for your renown, then your practice has become mixed with the 8 worldly dharmas. Okay, so then in terms of the giving and taking practice, we're not going to go into this in detail here. In general, one thinks of taking on the suffering of others and one breathes it in through the left nostril, and then thinks of giving away one's virtue and happiness in the form of white light that breathes out. One thinks of breathing out through the right nostril, and that this satisfies and fulfills sentient beings. And we find explanations on this practice in mind training like rays of the sun. So that this practice, and we also find in the graduate path, it is based on the cultivation of compassion, that one then thinks have this ought to take the suffering of sentient beings, and one thinks of breathing it in through the left nostril, and it comes down to one's heart and destroys the egotistical self-focused mind and the grasping itself. And then one thinks at giving away all one's virtue and happiness, and that takes the form of white light and goes out. We think that goes out from the right nostril to all sentient beings, causing them happiness, that all whatever they lack, whether that is food or clothing or their needs met, that if they are ill, that they are able to recover from their illness, and one can meditate on one's virtue, giving virtue in relationship to the 6 realms of beings. Okay, so that so then the last verse is saying, "I will learn to keep all these practices." So all the previous verses, the practices explained in all the previous verses, undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly conceptions or the 8 worldly dharmas. Understanding all phenomena to be like illusions, I will be released from the bondage of attachment or grasping. So that, in brief, what is meant by the 8 worldly dharmas, 8 worldly conceptions, that when we practice dharma thinking that we will gain reputation and renown, or that we are going to become wealthy through our dharma practice, and so this in essence is saying that we should not have this kind of motivation, that when we're practicing dharma, we shouldn't be practicing with the thought that we're going to kind of get renown and impress others. And then, so in addition to keeping one's mind free of these worldly conceptions, then also when we whatever dharma practice we do, whatever virtue it is, whether it is the 6 perfections or whatever we're dedicating, we should think that this lacks inherent existence, that it has no existence from its own side. If we think of dedicating virtue, the one who dedicates the dedication of virtue itself and the object of that dedication, which if we can think of that all these things lack inherent existence, that they exist merely by being labelled by mind, then keeping this in mind means that one's virtue is not destroyed by wrong understanding. So that in terms of these practices of bodhicitta, for these to develop well, then it is good first to develop familiarity or experience of the initial being's graduated path, the points of impermanence, suffering in the lower realms, the explanations of karmic action and effect, and then the intermediate being's practices, the drawbacks of cyclic existence, how we cycle within cyclic existence. And when we have strong familiarity with this and engage in the great being's practices of the spirit of enlightenment, bodhicitta, the spirit of enlightenment, that basis is very helpful for our practice then not to fall under the influence of the 8 worldly conceptions, the 8 worldly dharmas. Because without that foundation, one could say it's like a house. If there is not a good foundation, then the upper stories are unstable. Philip get true you in the true Geshe you then also Jema Gislangani Ketchet then do not Jema Tun Jema de Sile that do not Jema Tata de the Nisima de Dumatis Tilasare, then do not Jema Tata de Sanima de Penje Conile Saster and Comsa Margo to get lost. So we're going in terms of next week. That's the time when Geshe's family and his sister husband will have just arrived, and so we're going to next week's Sunday class will be cancelled. Yes. Loss. And just I did so that Philippe knows I got his list of questions, but we'll deal with them in the next session, which will not be next Sunday.
I think also I believe last year he has many questions. We didn't finish that. Sorry for that.
That's okay, don't worry.
Okay, so we do a little bit mantra, okay?
Yep.
I think we do mantra a little bit. It is sometimes it is quite important, you know. We do for mantras for COVID case, also the related with the sick people. Yeah, we recite the Tara mantra, and then not much people recite a little bit, and then also the Om Mani Padme Hum, you know, charity mantra for the people who passed away recently or long ago, it doesn't matter. But we will not going to we will not recite it long, just few minutes, okay?
Okay.
Okay, first we recite Tara mantra. Daje Serangone Devela, to some Sanje Kunjitinema, which is a teaching. Yumjuru Penam Lanchon Om Tare Ture So 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 Om Tare Ture So
By the force of my offerings and requests to you in the land and directions where I and others dwell, please quell all disease, poverty, fighting and quarrels. May the Dharma and all that is auspicious increase.
Okay, now cherish him. Yungi Mako Kondoka, Zosanje Ola, Tuji Jinki Dola, Se, Cheresila Chansan. Om Mani Padme 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 Om Mani Padme, 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 Om. Kyawate yudu da chale savatu chule kawachale malo te sala kovar. Okay, you dedicate the COVID pandemic, China. I think this is quite serious. And then also the war, Ukraine and Russia war. Please dedicate for those things. And also you can dedicate our Dharma friends, people who are sick or, and even long ago, our family members, somebody passed away, you can dedicate all these things. There are many things you can dedicate. Okay, thank you.
We'll do the dedication. Saji Bogi Chishom Sanjay Shindu Jite Dokunamba Shiva Shiva Idam Guratna Mandala
English.
From my 2 collections vast space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my life's monastery. May I find the best of complete great paths of teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing well. By using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever directions the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I expose this treasure of happiness and aim. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by this gradual path to enlightenment, completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their spiritual children. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent path never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes efforts to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may he or she always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. May the precious supreme line of Bodhisattva not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. May the precious mind of renunciation, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. May the precious ultimate view of emptiness, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Just as brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra to realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their example.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you everyone. So hopefully my Skype will be better next week or Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe. Thank you, Celia. That was really good.
Thank you, Celia. Thank you, Geshe. Be safe, everybody. Bye.
Good night.
Yes.